it's my 6th year. You know, like I said, 50 on the field. So guys look up to me, you know, in this building, you know, whether I like it or not. So I'm definitely embraced that role. And I really always have, but it's time for, you know, to make it definite, and no question about it. So.
Remember, friends, there is no off season. Doesn't exist at all. Football is kind of here because it never went anywhere. Welcome to yet another edition of the best podcast available, OTA pre-mandatory minicamp edition. My name is Andrew Siciliano, back from vacation and back in it on the other side of your screen, or maybe in the other ear. Hopefully you're listening in stereo. Don't know how this actually comes out. Is Jason Gibbs tanned, rested, ready from gallivanting around the motherland, gallivanting around Italy. Gibbe, it is good to see you.
It's a pleasure, my friend. You were in France. Were you at the French Open?
I did.
It's been a nice little run for you as well. We've covered the continent.
Yes, it was a great run. Israel was in Tel Aviv for a few days, and then I went to France, and I checked that box on the French Open. Wanted to do that. Was there day one. Got a grounds pass, wandered around, saw Tommy Paul, his four-setter on the opening day there at Roland Garros. Had an amazing time. Checked the box. Beautiful venue. Hope anyone and everyone can do it. And then equally, if not more important, the next day went to Normandy. Had always wanted to do that. Had actually, and you and I have talked about this, planned to do it in the bye week after the Browns London game this year.
Yeah.
There was no bye week. So I kind of, figured it out on the fly and did Normandy. Memorial Day weekend did Normandy, so I can't recommend that enough. It is powerful. We say every year, we thank everyone in uniform for their sacrifice, every man and woman for their sacrifice, and we remember those who have given their life in defense of this country. When you stand there in Normandy at Omaha Beach and you see the American Cemetery, you can stay there for hours and hours and hours just reading the names. We took a different path here than football, bear with me. But you read every name there and you know every name. Yeah, I wasn't around in the 40s, but you know every name because you went to school with somebody with that last name, or your neighbor has that last name, and you know those stories. And just imagine being 22 years old. We've all been there. And this is what you decided to do. You were the greatest generation, and you went to fight evil, and it is powerful, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Yeah, I would love to go to Normandy. I'm a World War II buff. My grandfather fought and flew bombers for the Air Force in World War II, so definitely a bucket list item. My daughter was lucky enough to go a few years ago, and pretty awesome. The pictures and the pictures don't do it justice.
No,
I know that. So
yeah, to be there at 4:00 at the cemetery where they lower the flags and play taps. There's pretty. I don't know that I've ever experienced anything like that.
Gotcha.
So do it, and you know what? Also, let's talk football. So
let's go.
Let's get that out of the way. This is the best podcast available. And let's try to give you the best analysis available of OTAs. Reminding you that OTAs are voluntary. It is part of the voluntary NFL off-season program, collectively bargained by the NFLPA with the league to make this portion here voluntary. Next week, it's mandatory. Next week, it is newsworthy if your favorite player is not there. But your favorite player will be there because you're getting fined, significantly fined. Fines that cannot be rescinded. So everybody will be there next week. So keeping that in mind. And there are also players that were there for OTAs that didn't do anything on the field. Like, for example, Joe Petonio, who spoke this week at the Browns charity golf tournament at Westwood Country Club. He spoke on Monday. We'll get into his comments coming up shortly. He did stuff really only inside, right? He was working out inside. He wasn't on the field, but he was there. But players like Micah Parsons, for example, in Dallas, he was kind of sort of there, but he wasn't on the field. He also did some traveling, like maybe your favorite player wearing number 95 here did some traveling. It is okay. Okay? It's okay. In a perfect world, would you like perfect attendance at OTAs? Yes, that goes without saying. But mandatory minicamp and training camp are what is important. And that is when attendance, I think you and I are on the same page here, truly does matter.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Greg Newsome was on Browns Daily on Monday from the golf outing, and he said, I had a commitment with my baby daughter and my fiance in Arizona last week. I couldn't be here for OTAs, but he's here this week and he's back on the field. But it's the media's job to report on it, like who's there, who's not there, but just make sure that the caveat is everybody knows it's voluntary. Next Tuesday, when we hit the practice field at about 11:30 in the morning, now if you're not on that field, there will be questions. Now, there could be guys still working inside, rehabbing. I know David Bell's still coming back from an injury, but you're more than likely you're on the field. Maybe you're working off to the side. Maybe you're on the Tour de Berea. You're riding the bike and everything along those lines. But you need to be in the building, and you need to be in the building actually starting on Monday, because the team meeting is at 5:15 to kick off the week.
Yeah. And those players about which you likely had consternation about not attending OTAs, they will be in that team meeting on Monday. I guarantee you. And by the way, like I mentioned, Micah Parsons, it's not just him. Rashawn Slater, Chargers O-lineman, waiting for his new contract. He wasn't at Charger OTAs. Puka Nacua had a family outing. Samoa, a cool thing to do, much like Greg Newsome, wanted to be with the family, had a commitment. He wasn't at some of the Rams OTAs. Micah Parsons, Travis Kelce was only on the field like for a minute, right? He was mostly inside. I know. Listen, I also care. I also want to know which quarterback looks better. I really do. But it is only, as we tape this today, June 5th. Okay? It is significant that, for example, in Wednesday's session, we're taping this Thursday. Shedeur Sanders got some more reps in 11-on-11 in team stuff. The Browns are doing what's called two-spot, in which they're really, because they have the four quarterbacks that need to get work, they have two sets of drills happening at the same time on different fields or other parts of the same field because they need to get the quarterbacks work. I know that you want to overanalyze the passing efficiency numbers and overanalyze whether or not Caden Davis, speaking of the Chargers, got a foot down to the back of the end zone on that really nice ball in the red zone that Shedeur threw on Wednesday. I stress to not overanalyze it. But at the same time, I'm saying I'm excited and that I care too. Both can be true. There is so much more between now and week 1 against the Bengals. And I think Tommy Rees's comments Wednesday were really telling. Mary Kay Cabot, tip of the cap to her, Hall of Famer Mary Kay Cabot, asked, can you see a scenario in which any of these four quarterbacks, the healthy ones, not including Deshaun here, still rehabbing, can win this starting job? And Tommy Rees said, yeah, absolutely. And then as the scrum was breaking up, Tommy kind of said, I mean, it'd be a pretty sad answer if I said no, right? And I think that's the way that we have to frame all of this. This isn't real football yet. Pads haven't come on yet. I had a coach years ago tell me, they're wearing shorts. It doesn't matter until you switch out of shorts. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think you're getting work in. It's still a lot of install. You're installing your offense. You're installing your defense. Jim Schwartz said it best. Someone asked about Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger, and there's not really, he said, I don't really know how to tell you if they're good or not good right now or where they're at. We're doing a lot of classroom instruction. We're watching some of their stuff when they're in one-on-one drills, or position like work. He's like, I can do that, but like until we're actually tackling and we're, 11-on-11, line them up, helmets, pads, everything else, there's not really a way to know how good or where the defense really is. Defensively in the secondary, they made some plays yesterday. Quarterbacks looked okay at times. The defense also came away with, I think, 4 interceptions yesterday. So you get some positives, you get some negatives. More importantly, you're actually seeing some football now. over the last 2 weeks, which is fun to watch in May.
I was going to say, and Schwartz made the point yesterday as well, because kind of a theme this week, and the first time we had heard from Jim Schwartz since the season ended, I believe, if memory serves, that you obviously got to get back to the defense we saw in 2023, the best defense in the NFL. Even if it's not all the way back to number one, somewhere in the top 10 would be nice, and this whole team, this whole building would feel different. Schwartz said you need more INTs and fewer PBUs. A lot of PBUs last year. You got to turn those into INTs. So 4 INTs on Wednesday is certainly a step in the right direction. And he also, Jim Schwartz made the headline, and this is the headline, the takeaway that everyone's going to run with, is that he said, I think Miles is going to have the best year of his career. The exact quote is, I really think Miles is going to have the best season of his career and has to. Right? You know what I mean? And I've told him this before. That's what Spider-Man, it's a Spider-Man quote. With great power comes great responsibility. That with the big contract, with the notoriety that came along with that, with the process that it took to get him to that point, there's always pressure in this league, but probably a little bit more so. That brings out the best in players, and I know that'll be the case with Miles. It's kind of refreshing to hear him say that. I don't like, and I always have said this, I don't like the P word, the pressure word, when it comes to sports analysis, especially in the NFL. For years doing sports talk radio, Gibbe, we get to a Friday show where we're trying to pick the game, and you're always like, well, so-and-so has more pressure on them this week. And I'm like, come on, guys. This is a league and a business that is built on a foundation of pressure. No one gets to this point in their career to play in the National Football League unless you have faced pressure all along the way. And my point being, it's pretty equal, right? Monday is going to suck for the team that lost and the players that lost regardless. So to try to pick a game by saying, well, there's more pressure on this team, I never bought into that. I think there's pressure on all of us. There's pressure on you. There's pressure on me. There's pressure on everyone in the building. This is the biggest stage in American sport performed today, right? But I do think at the same time, there's something refreshing to hear Jim Schwartz say, yeah, hey, you know what? Not only did he sign the contract, it took a lot to get there. He's paid a lot of money, and we expect a lot of him. But you know what? He has always done this. He has always performed. So I expect him to do it again, and I think he's going to have his best year ever.
If I'm Jim Schwartz, that's what I have to go off of. I mean,
right.
Miles has been around a couple times throughout the offseason, but he hasn't been here a whole lot. He's been traveling. He has every right to do that.
He's back in the USA, I could tell you that.
Yeah, but I mean, you've seen the workout videos. I mean, he's working out. He's working out with Micah Parsons a little bit. I mean, that's he's worked out. He's always kept himself in good shape. I fully expect next week when we see him on the field here at Cross Country Mortgage Campus that he will be his usual disruptive self.
And let's make something clear here about how Miles travels. He's not traveling with just a carry-on and hotels tonight on his phone, trying to figure out where he's going to put his head down tonight. He is traveling with a workout team. He doesn't travel solo. So wherever in the world you may find him on Instagram, you better believe that day of travel included his team and a professional workout. No, I'm being dead serious. That's how he rolls. That's also what that contract affords you. So that is how he rolls, and I have no doubt that he will roll in ready. A couple of other things, aside from what Jim Schwartz said. I want to get back to what Joel Bitonio said on Monday. And I think those might have been the most significant comments to come out of any microphone this week, whether they be in Berea or at Westwood Country Club. I thought what Joel said about the offense, finally kind of saying out loud and confirming what we all knew, but what I think Kevin and Tommy Reese had been reluctant to really say, oh, yeah, we're rolling it back out loud, because Kevin always says, and this is true, you want to move the offense forward, not move it back. But what Bitonio said about how this offense is going to look, I think, warmed a lot of people's hearts, myself included. And what he basically said is that with Mike Bloomgren taking over as the offensive line coach, which he said was a huge reason he came back, Bitonio said, and didn't retire, that we are getting back to running the football. He said not only wide zone, but power and gap scheme as well. You want to go back to the old Stanford days where with Mike Bloomgren, they ran the ball, and David Shaw and Jim Harbaugh 18, 19 times in a row. I don't know if we're going to do that, but Batonio said they're showing David DeCastro cut-ups in meetings, right? So that's David DeCastro not with the Steelers, but with Stanford. He said they've got to bring the toughness back. He said Bloomgren has done that, certainly. And he said, Joel's words, that they need an O-line coach who is a bleep, jerk, another four-letter word that begins with a D. And Joel said, I'm sorry. And he said it, and then everyone laughed. And it's a friendly reminder not to rip any coach that was here last year, but it's 3 O-line coaches now in 3 years. And Mike Bloomgren is not Bill Callahan, but he certainly seems to be different than the vibe you had last year with Andy Dickerson.
He's from the Callahan tree, too.
Exactly. And you need to bring that back. And Batonio also made the point that, hey, the defense took a step backwards last year, but we can't be keeping the defense on the field for 70 plays a game. We need to control the ball. I know it's 2025. We got to throw the ball too. But run of the football, controlling the ball, it is refreshing to me and to Wyatt Teller and to Ethan Posick and this entire room. And it's going, Gibby, to help the defense.
So offense struggled to score points last year. They were
18 a game, lowest in the NFL.
You're not going to win many games. We proved that. You win 3 and 14, scoring 18 points a game. If you're going to be better offensively, you obviously have to score more, but you also have to give your defense the chance to get some rest. How do you do that? Ball control, smart plays, passing plays that are smart. Don't take risks. Take risk, I guess, when you have to, but otherwise play smart, tough, and accountable. And we're getting back to the basics for Kevin Stefanski and company.
And listen, you do that. You run the football. You make that play action game that much more effective for a rookie quarterback if it is a rookie quarterback.
Yes.
You set it up to take those shots. Now, it goes hand in hand. If that rookie quarterback is having trouble delivering the football down the field, then the run game may not be as effective. But go back to 2023, if it is Joe Flacco, but just remember how that offense looked. The play action, those deep shots to Amari Cooper, they were there because you could still effectively run the football. And it goes hand in hand. It's complementary football, right? It's refreshing to kind of to feel that even in June, you're heading back in that direction.
Yeah, and going back to Greg Newsome with the Browns Daily crew on Monday at the golf outing at the Browns Foundation 25th annual. He's like, there's a difference from a year ago. Like maybe we know we had an opportunity last year and it kind of slipped and fell apart on us because everything this year seems to be amped up, ramped up. Practices seem to be a little more upbeat, maybe even a little more grueling on the body for this time of year. I mean, I'm not going to say physical because you're not tackling, you're not having that, but I think this organization and they've made some updates on the sports performance and the dietitian side and everything. I think they're challenging these players a lot more here this offseason, which I think is a good thing.
It's a good thing. And two-spot can do that, right? Simultaneous drills to benefit a quarterback competition can do that. More work, but you have to be careful. You can't overwork guys because that is the danger. As you try to get the quarterbacks more work, you're overworking the rest of the roster. They're going to be smart with that, but something to keep in mind. And remember, and I've said this repeatedly, you have the 2 joint practices, the Panthers and the Eagles. Also, forgot this one, all 3 preseason games will be simulcast live on NFL Network. So for those of you rather, who are not in Northeast Ohio, who are not able to watch the Browns preseason games live in Cleveland or anywhere else throughout Ohio, they will be simulcast on NFL Network. So there's that. All 3, including the home game, the only home game of the preseason, the third and final one against the Rams. One final thing I want to get in here. about the offensive line. Dawand Jones spoke on Wednesday. He's progressing well. He's on the field, which is certainly positive, obviously, after his broken ankle, week 11, ended his season in New Orleans. Remember, he was playing left tackle that day. They had moved him over to left tackle with all the injuries. He acquitted himself fairly well. Thought it was telling, and I appreciate Dawand's honesty that he said that he told Andrew Berry, he told Kevin that he preferred not to play left tackle. He's more comfortable on the right side. He is right-handed. His right-handed punch is better than his left-handed punch, and that's what he's always played. That's where he feels at home, but that he is open to the challenge. He is down to do it, and he's going to give it his best. Dawand Jones is your left tackle, and in essence, the Browns have 2 right tackles. They do. They're going to put one of them at left tackle, and you hope Dawand can do it. He's a power player. Left side's a little bit more of a finesse, as he put it, position. He's watching Trent Brown, also a big man who's played left and made that transition. He's watching Tristan Wirfs a little bit as well. He's trying to get some pointers, and he is working on it. But he admits that he is a work in progress at the position, but also with his physique. He's taken off, he said, about 20 pounds. Well, he's taken off a lot of fat and added a lot of muscle, but he's weighing the same. He's still in the neighborhood of 370, 375, Gibbe, but he said he's turned some of that fat into muscle.
Yeah, I love Big Thanos. I want to see him succeed as much as anybody on this football team. His heart is as big as his 375-pound frame. I mean, I love him. He's a super good guy. I think his head's in the right place. I think he's got some structure here this offseason. He seemed really dedicated. Joel Bitonio said it the other day that he's been in the building most of the offseason. He's been here. He hasn't missed offseason workouts. He's dedicated and committed to making this change. Hey, Thanos, reach out to Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
I know you're watching Tristan Wirfs. I know you're watching. Talk to the Hoff. Get the Hoff. Find out the process. Because Hoff had a whole notebook on every defensive lineman he was going up against. Preparation, watching tape. Pick his brain. He is a resource. He's a big fan of yours. That's the only thing I would say. Reach out to Joe Thomas.
He has time. I think I don't know if he's back from the Galapagos and riding sea turtles, but
I don't know what's going on there.
Help. He's happy to help. And speaking of reaching out to Joe Thomas for help, I had a night in Munich a few weeks ago, like on a layover. I had a 15-hour layover in Munich. Had to change planes, different tickets. Long story. Hit up the Hoff. I'm like, Joe, I got one night in Munich, buddy. What am I doing? Guys,
and you made your flight.
7 pages of notes.
It's detail oriented.
He
right
is
there,
detail
Thanos.
oriented. Like, you're looking at it and you're like, this is AI. You're like, no, it's not AI, because on one of them's like, and if you go to this beer hall, ask for my buddy Christian. We go hunting and you need to get this. And you're like, this is not AI. This is not TripAdvisor. This is not him scraping Yelp reviews. This is a detailed Joe Thomas eating and drinking plan.
Did it live up to the expectations?
Yes. He's the best.
And you made it to the plane. Because I'm not so sure that one is making it to the plane with the number of libations you may or may not consume.
Although that is another story. I won't bore you. Actually, I will bore you. On the way, so when you land in Munich, you take the train downtown, and on the platform they have the ticket machines, right? So you take the escalator down, you're on the platform, and then there are all the ticket machines. All right, buy your ticket. Okay, so I bought my ticket, 17 euros, right? Like $20. You get on the train, you go downtown. No one checked my ticket. When you get off the train, there's no machine to swipe through, no gateway to go through. I'm like, okay, but I bought my ticket, right? You didn't know that. So on the way out in the morning to leave after a night out of Joe Thomas recommendations, I get down to the platform now in the city. There are no ticket machines. I'm like, what is going on here? There's no machine. I'm wandering the platform. No machine, no machine. Here's the train. Doors are open. Bell is sounding. Train's about to go. I got to get to the airport. I'm like, what am I doing here? Well, no one, like, maybe back to the city or back to the airport, you don't need the ticket, right? Maybe that's why. Anyway, so I jump on the train. We are 20 seconds from the airport. No one had asked for a ticket. No conductor. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, as if conjured up by a
That's how I ran into him in Italy.
Here's the conductor. Ticket. I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, well, I left it in my hotel room, which is a true story. I had the other ticket that no one ever took on my nightstand. I forgot that, whatever. It's an old ticket. And I'm like, can I just pay you now? Oh, yes, you may. I'm like, great. Take my phone out. He takes his little thing out. I tap. He prints and hands it to me and walks away. I'm like, okay, cool. I look at it. What do you think that ticket cost on the train instead of 17?
Probably about 90 euros.
It's a 60 euro train ticket. They're fining you. Yeah. Basically, here's your $50 fine. You
enjoy that.
Jumper. I'm like, oh, man. I could have taken a cab.
Yeah.
Anyway,
lesson learned.
I digress. What's that?
Right. Lesson learned. You got through it. You got to the airport. It's all right.
All right.
Just a few extra dollars.
All right. Moving on. It is hard to believe that this is year 5 for our guest on BPA, the best podcast available. Grant Delpit, where did the years go, man? Year 5, dude.
Is it year 5?
Hold on.
That was year 6.
Wait a minute. I'm looking this
6.
up. I thought it was year 5.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, 5?
Counting the injury year? Yeah. Year 5 on the field. How about that?
On the field, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So year 6, then I got it wrong. It's year 5/6. Where did the time
go? Time waits for no man. As we see, it flies by. So, just trying to make an impact while I can, man, and lead this team.
Before we talk about the football, let's talk about life. Let's talk about the offseason. Going through your IG, Harajuku Street, Tokyo in March.
Yeah.
That looked cool.
Yeah. It's a great place, Tokyo. Very, very nice people, very orderly. Got to travel around a little bit while I can, so it's important to do those things for me. I like doing that while I can.
Hey man, you got to live your life. I'm doing Tokyo. Actually, I'm doing Mount Fuji in July. So between like minicamp and training camp, you got any tips? You got any restaurant recommendations? What should I do?
No, see, I mean, I didn't do anything outside of the city, but hey man, them local ramen stops, like it's top tier.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
The vintage, sushi and the real sashimi and stuff like that, man. That's the type of food I like though. So I don't know if it's for you.
No, it is for me. That's exactly what I like.
Okay.
I was there years and years and years ago, and I did Harajuku Street like on a Sunday like you, and it was fantastic. I want to go back and do that. I don't like the rotating sushi though. Did you go to one of those where like it's moving?
Nah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, that's given like conveyor, vending machine.
Yeah, I don't like the conveyor belt. Conveyor belt sushi, I can live with that. I can live with that. Let's get to the football. Right. Everyone says OTAs feel a little bit different. Like everything, like in general, feels different this year. A little more intensity, a little more focus. Do you feel that as well?
I think that was a big emphasis coming in. Maybe, it was a little bit too lax last year. Maybe we need to go a little harder this year. So if it's any question about it, I think it's, we need to attack it at a higher rate, higher speed every day. Obviously it wasn't good enough last year, so something needs to change. And it starts with our effort, for real. So that's what we focusing on right now, controlling what we control. We can't do too much physical, violence and stuff like that. So just making sure our tempo is as up as it can be,
And that's what I keep reminding people. It's June. So, like, don't jump to big conclusions. It's June. It does ramp up, though, next week for mandatory minicamp. Grant, explain to the fans the difference in intensity. And I realize it's still going to be June next week between OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Yeah,
I mean, mandatory minicamp is basically more what you're going to see real high, competitive levels, one-on-ones, real work. Right now it's work, but it's fine-tuning stuff. In minicamp, you actually get to see a lot more competitive physical nature of what we do. So that's the opportunity you get to see me get on our quarterbacks a lot more.
Oh, you're going to get on the quarterback a lot more.
Yeah, I got to lead the way.
You got to lead the way. Let's talk about the leadership thing. Your coach, Efrain Banda, was on the radio with Nathan and Bo yesterday. And he kind of pulled the curtain back and talked about the conversations he's had with you about leadership here in year 5, year 6, call it whatever you want. And how he sees you on camera, he sees you with the media, how comfortable you are in this kind of setting. and that he wants that leadership to take the next step this year. What does that look like for you?
What I think, sometimes I'm real hard on myself. So, obviously I didn't have a great year last year. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I did to some people, but I didn't get the ball enough. It's all about getting that ball in this league and making a difference and getting the ball back for our offense. So I got to do a better job of that. But, it's my 6th year, like I said, 50 on the field. So guys look up to me, in this building, whether I like it or not. So I'm definitely embraced that role. And I really always have, but it's now it's time for, to make it definite and no question about it. So.
And you're the veteran now in the room. I mean, it's Rocket. You got the 2 veterans coming in, free agent in Casey and Jenkins, but not calling you an old man. You're the most tenured guy, let's put it that way, in the room.
Yeah. Let's do this, because it's like I had somebody call me Unc the other day, and it's like I'm not that. Like it's not that yet.
Who called
Let's
you
go
that?
through the age. Let's just go through the age. Like, okay, 21 to 20 to 24. That's like little bro. Like that's like, man, 20 to 23. That's like young buck.
Okay.
24 to 28, 29, big bro. 25. We're gonna skip 24 because that's just a random age. 25 to 29, big bro. 30, okay, like in league terms, you're OG at that point. Unc. Don't call me OG Unc right now. I'm big bro still.
You're going to be 27 in September.
I know, okay. Man. It's getting.
So then what is Flacco?
He's just a one-off. I don't know what he is.
He's not grandpa?
Yeah, Flacco is like, I wouldn't call him grandpa. I'll just call him experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the quarterback thing, because you did play 2 games with Joe back in 23. Everyone got so excited, obviously. I mean, you should see social media. I know you did, the day that he signed. And then we got to the draft. And then, like, Grant, I know how much my phone is blowing up. I just took a trip. I know how much people are stopping me, asking me about the quarterback situation. Like, what is your phone like? What's it like for you going to the grocery store when it's the only thing anybody wants to talk about?
Like I said I don't get paid to make those decisions.
No, and I'm not saying making the decision. I'm just saying it's the only thing anybody wants to talk about.
Exactly. Like, and at the end of the day, they ask me, I'm like, I give everybody the same answer. I don't make these decisions, like, I just let them live in fantasy land because they think they know it, I just, try to just go on, whatever you think is right, so we're going to see what it is. But like at the end of the day, it's going to be a competition, I guess, I don't make those decisions.
What was your reaction on draft day? Tell the truth.
Tell the truth?
Yeah.
I really didn't, like I knew that at the end of the day, we was going to get a great player. So I didn't even really I didn't watch it. I was waiting on my phone to see the news. I know I was just going to be like overly into it. So I'm just like, let me just see who we get. And we got a great piece in our D tackle room.
Yep. And then day 2, got some weapons as well.
Yeah, we definitely got some weapons. How I leave out day 2, I win day 2, so that's my bad. Hey, I'm thinking about day 1 so much.
But that's the point. Is that's the way to tie it in. Day 2 is the foundation of your football team, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. People put so much focus on day 1, right? That's the big show, right? That's the shiny object. That's
What's the big deal about day 1? I mean, like, come on,
but
guys.
You know what I'm saying. Day 2 and good football teams are built on day 2. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly.
You can't have a good football team. You look at the teams that go deep in the postseason, they're built on day 2. Just my opinion. Let's talk about the offense in general. I thought Joel Bitonio said out loud what a lot of people knew internally, and a lot of the fans wanted as well. When this week he said that the offense, the install at least, feels a lot like 2020 and 2021, right? Wide zone and power and just getting back to running the football, getting back to what the core of the identity is. But he also made the point, Grant, that the offense has to help you guys out, right? So being on the field for 70 snaps, you talked about turnovers. You're not getting turnovers when you're on the field for 70, 60, 70 snaps, right? That's when you guys get worn down. That's when you give up the explosives. And he talked about how to get back to winning football, they have to run the ball, but they have to give you guys on that side of the ball a little bit of help.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% agreeable. You will say, let's talk about offense, and I was going to say I play defense, so I can't talk about that. But going off that, I think that, I know you can't have a great defense without an offense. You can't have a great offense without a defense. So, as we seen last year, it was just too swayed, too up and down on both sides. So we got to have a consistency in order to be, good on both sides.
You mentioned the turnovers. Schwartzy mentioned the turnovers again yesterday. How do you force more turnovers and still play fundamental football?
I don't know. I think it's a mindset, a mentality. Even if it comes to punching the ball, like you have to have a predetermined mindset of I'm not just going to make this tackle. I'm going to, punch the ball out. And capitalizing on plays. Like I even dropped a pick last year. I think it was my first in my career. Second, I don't know. I don't know how many drop picks I had, but I haven't had a lot. So, just capitalizing on those plays, man, is the biggest thing because you don't never know when they're going to come back.
Hey, but the good players remember the plays you don't make, not the plays you do make, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, seriously. I mean, it sticks with you. I know we do totally different things, but when I drive home on Sunday, I think about the calls that could have gone better as opposed to the calls that went great because you're not going to get better if you only look at your highlights.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That's why you guys
exactly.
look at film.
But then again, you got to move on. That was Monday. Today's Tuesday.
Totally, absolutely. And you move on, and then you get another shot coming up on Sunday, and you get another shot at some time off as well. Let's last thing, Grant. Looking past next week, I know you got to live in the moment, but you have anything good planned for that month off?
No, I mean I'm actually got a home base in Dallas now. I just bought my first, real house.
Nice, congrats.
So I'm looking forward to getting that together, settling down. But the furnishing part is crazy. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not looking forward to that. But
dude,
like you said, I'm about to be 27, man. I gotta start something.
I know that's grown up stuff. But full disclosure, if you saw what the rest of this room looked like right now, I have been in this house for 8 years. I don't know that I still have all that furniture stuff done.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. Yeah, find someone who can do that for you because I still haven't found that.
Yeah.
Grant, great stuff. I appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the last week of mandatory work. I'll see you in Berea next week, and looking forward to seeing you all back on the field.
All right, let's do it. Appreciate it.
All right, so let's look ahead to next week. School is almost out for summer. There are 3 more days, mandatory minicamp coming up on the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. Gibby, as you noted, Monday team meeting on the 9th, and then you're on the field those 3 days. I want to warn people right now, it may only be 2 days. Most teams don't do anything on Thursday. The coach, in this case, Kevin Stefanski, may very well come to the podium after Wednesday's practice and say, hey, we're going to go to a team golf outing or Top Golf or do something in the community or who knows. On Thursday, most coaches do that. And then it is truly school's out for summer. But I will say this. Everything I said at the beginning of this episode about not reading too much into the quarterback numbers and how they look, I'm going to start to throw that out next week because I think next week actually does matter. And I think next week is a benchmark on which you can plan training camp. Tommy Rees was asked during OTAs, do you have a plan? I see what you're doing now, but do you have a plan for the quarterbacks and the reps come training camp? And he said, it's a work in progress. I think some of those decisions, Gibby, may factor on how these guys look this week.
I 100%. I think this starts to set what your depth chart, use that, looks like the first day of training camp in terms of who's getting the reps. Because now you're working on who's getting the most reps. And now you have a first team that's getting the majority, a second team that's getting X number, a third team that might get a series, and a fourth team that might get a couple plays. This sets who's the rotation? What's the rotation at running back going to look like? Who's going to play wide receiver?
What does Deontay Johnson look like? Because that was, I don't call it a ballyhooed signing, but it was a curious one a couple of weeks ago. He has not been there for OTAs. So it's mandatory now. You got to be there.
Yeah, defensive ends. You've got a loaded defensive end room. What's that rotation look like? Who's in on the first team reps? Who's in on the second team reps? And do those change throughout? Like next week, we start to see, okay, this is what it's probably going to look like when they report to training camp in July. Or this is kind of determining what training camp will at least start off looking like.
And also next week, you're going to have a feel for the calendar in training camp as well. We still don't have, and they're trickling out from other teams, the official training camp map. I'm going to guess first work on the field is going to be July 26th, that Saturday. Don't quote me on it, but somewhere in that vicinity with players trickling in the week of the 21st. Obviously, rookies first, and then eventually veterans. And that first full week of practice would be the week of the 28th. Again, don't count me, but that's just how don't quote me. That's just how the calendar generally works. And then we'll have everything set in stone there with the joint practices, with the Eagles and with the Panthers. And buckle up, baby. Football is officially back. We'll have your walking papers, if you will, for the rest of your summer next week, including jury duty, currently scheduled for the week of the 21st for this guy.
Wow.
Don't worry, we're working on it.
Bishop had jury duty. We had to work through that. You have jury. What is going on? They know what. I'd like to think they know who you are.
Okay, so backstory real quick. Very quickly, I promise. I had jury duty the week before rookie minicamp. Okay. And how they work it is you have to go online the night before, and they tell you if we need a jury the next day, right? You know how it works, right?
Yep.
So nothing. All of a sudden, they call me in on Friday, right? And if they call you in on Friday, you're like, okay, all I got to do is get through today, and then my week is over. But at the same time, you're like, well, if they're calling you in on Friday, they may actually need a jury, right? So I'm in there, and it's like noon. And I'm like, I got a bad feeling. The way that the person running the jury room was talking, like, I got a bad feeling. And I had rookie minicamp the next week. I'm not going to miss that. And some other important stuff, meetings. I'm not going to miss that. So I'm like, you know what? I can either play today out and cross my fingers, or, and I've been in this position before, you actually get called into a jury room and you got to go through the whole voir dire process on a Friday afternoon, and they say we don't have time. You got to come back Monday, and then your whole next week is up in the air. And I'm like, I can't risk that. So I went in there. I went up and I'm like, what should I do? Here's my situation. I got to be out of town all next week, and I'm not missing that. And she's like, I'd tap out. I'll reschedule you. And I went, okay. So I tapped out, and she handed me July 21. And I'm like, oh, my God. We'll figure it out.
Thank you. Doing your civic duty. Your civic duty.
Okay. Because this is not only the best podcast available, we're the best citizens available as well, doing our civic duty. For Jason Gibbs, my name is Andrew Siciliano. Next week, remember, your attendance is mandatory.